Jack, we've learned much more about this crime because of those two letters. They were typed and left inside the home. Now, this case has developed very quickly over the past 24 hours. Thomas Mortimer was actually brought back to the Winchester Police Department about a half hour ago. And my sources tell me this was a very brutal and violent crime. Training prepares cops to handle different terrain, from pavement to dirt. Right now, there's a suspect in the woods, and we're on his trail. The ammunition is called a super stock, and it's basically a soft stock filled with lead pellets. Which is a better deal, driving or taking the T? We put the T to test up against our minivan driving from Newton to downtown Boston. Taking up spaces from disabled people who need it at Spalding Rehab. Jonathan DePina tries to duck into a building to hide from our camera and avoid questions about why he parks his silver Infiniti in this parking spot. He's a public employee. He's not disabled, but he parks in a handicapped space using a disabled teenager's placard day after day. We have you multiple days.
It's a pretty egregious case.
It's an egregious case because that parking spot is right here in front of Spalding Rehabilitation Hospital, a hospital with many disabled patients. And Jonathan DePina, well, he's a corrections officer at the Suffolk County Jail, right across the street. You're a jail officer at the jail, parking illegally, using a disabled person's placard. But the truth rolls right on tape. Take a look. Here's DePina putting it in park in a handicapped spot, grabbing his Suffolk County uniform and jogging across the street for his shift at the jail. The I-Team watched these spaces over the past 2 months, and we found Jonathan DePina isn't the only jail employee who parks here illegally. There are 6 people from the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department who pull into these spaces on a regular basis and park here for their entire shift. The I-Team ran the plates and the placards and compared the car's owners to payroll records from the Sheriff's Department. We found the drivers didn't match the placards and caught Sheriff's employees in the act. I'm Kathy Curran from WBZ. I wonder why you're parking in this handicapped space? Can you roll down the window? I'm Kathy Curran from WBZ. We want to know why you're parking in this space. You've been parking in this space over and over again. We have you parking here multiple days. You want to tell us you're going to hit me with the car? Here's Renita Dudley Herbin on another day, parking in a handicapped spot, grabbing a coffee, and heading to work at the jail. She has a placard, but it's not hers. Another case of fraud involving employees working at the Suffolk County Jail.
And it is abuse and it is fraud.
The registrar for the state is outraged by what we found.
When you think about somebody who has a disability placard, this is not a luxury for them. This is not a convenience for them. This is a necessity to them.
It just makes it difficult.
Those spaces are needed for people like Rob Park and Stacy Rogers who have cerebral palsy. Rob and Stacy head to Spalding on a regular basis where parking is at a premium.
There aren't any other spaces besides the ones that you pay for or you walk a distance.
They are the ones who should know the law. They are the ones that help, lock up criminals who violate the law.
They're corrections officers breaking the law and making life more difficult for the disabled.
There's a reason why there's that benefit. And obviously, the Sheriff's Department doesn't see the reason for that benefit.
They should consider what it would be like to trade places with them for just one day.
We told the Suffolk County Sheriff's Department about our investigation. The sheriff refused to comment on camera, but issued a statement saying the department does not condone misuse of parking reserved for handicapped persons, but also said the Sheriff's Department isn't responsible for where employees park in their personal cars.
They fought for the country. They deserve to be put to rest with honors.
In the basement of funeral homes and old hospitals across the country, there is no honor, no peaceful final resting place for our heroes, the veterans of our wars. But the I-Team discovered hundreds of our veterans had been left behind, gathering dust and sitting on shelves for decades.
How is it that they could just end up on a shelf and nobody and take care of them.
Sharon Bouchard is the mother of two Marines, Don McNeil, a veteran of the Gulf War. They're on personal missions that begin in the cellar of this Worcester funeral home.
Have cataloged most of these.
Where unclaimed cremated remains or cremains are stacked on shelves. Some unidentified in plastic bags.
This one doesn't have any identification at all.
Others almost 100 years old.
This is from February 13th, 1912.
They're volunteers for the Missing in America project, bringing our veterans out of the dark. They cross-check the names on urns with old journals and a Department of Defense database to make sure every person who has served our country gets the burial our veterans deserve.
You go through life, you earn your way through. You shouldn't end up on a shelf because of money reasons or because you don't have family to claim you.
There are about 160 cremains tucked away in different corners of this old basement. They're surrounded by cobwebs and dirt near a furnace and piles of junk.
There may be a chance you may have some veterans, older veterans.
Right. World War II and maybe prior to that. We have some going back to 1912.
From the East Coast to the West, where thousands of unidentified ashes were discovered in Oregon State Hospital, and a California veteran was found sitting on a shelf at the county coroner's office for months. One by one, they're being brought home with full military honors.
He wouldn't believe it.
So far, the Missing in America project has interred the remains of 321 veterans nationwide. The first Massachusetts veteran to receive full military burial honors through the project was laid to rest here in the National Cemetery in Bourne last June.
He was a veteran of World War II, Korea, and Vietnam.
Master Sergeant Adam Tipps's ashes were brought to the National Cemetery after sitting in the closet of an elderly relative's home for years.
You finally brought him to his final resting place. That's going to make you feel pretty great.
Yeah, that's an attaboy.
It was just the system.
But the system is changing, and a recent change in state law brings the volunteers to the Massachusetts Funeral Directors Association, where they make a plea to funeral directors to turn over any unclaimed remains.
The new law allows us to bury the ashes, cremains as they're so-called, of people who've been unclaimed for 12 months.
You can't blame the funeral homes because if they took these remains and they buried them without the family's permission, and somebody came along 5 years, 10 years later, they would be responsible.
It's a proper military send-off, a right of every veteran. But the head of the Missing in America project believes it's a right at least 15,000 veterans have never received.
This is a secret that's gone for too long.
An untold secret, and it's this project's mission to make sure it's a secret no more.
They took an oath for us. It was a sacrifice, and that's the least that we owe them.
The Funeral Directors Association says it looks forward to working with the state to come up with a process so they can work with the Missing in America project to give every veteran a proper burial. For the I-Team, Kathy Curran, WBZ News. I've run many road races in my life, but this one will be very different because I'll have two very special people in my heart and on my mind. My mom, Anne Marie, died in September after a long battle with polycystic kidney disease. 21-year-old Nick Exaros was killed by a roadside bomb in Afghanistan in July.
They went to help a Marine who was calling for help, and as they were traveling to get him, they went over a massive bomb.
That's why Nick's dad, Steve, will be pounding the pavement by my side every step of the way. We're two good friends, bonded by tremendous loss, running a 26.2-mile journey in memory of our loved ones. We can do it. We're lacing up as part of Team Big Nick and raising awareness about a deadly disease. My great-grandmother died from PKD, my grandmother, aunt, and uncle, and then my mom battled this disease for many, many years.
Team Big Nick helps spread the word about our young men and women that are fighting every day for our freedom. And it's in honor of Nicholas because he was big and strong.
It's been a long road to the start, but promises made and memories will fuel us to the finish. My mom was an amazing woman. She was very, very strong, and I think while I'm running, whenever I feel like, oh, my knee's hurting or my ankle's hurting, I just sort of look up to the sky and think, you know, she had that strength, so this is no big deal.
I look up and I think of Nick, and then I look at my tattoo and I think of Nick, and I remember what he went through and I just keep moving on.
We know two people will be looking down at us, probably with big smiles on their faces, and I'm just happy to be able to do it.